Welcome to the Search the Scriptures podcast, where we dive into Scripture and provide the explanation of it in the most accurate light that we can. Search the Scriptures is a podcast that is dedicated primarily to the Christian, challenging our brothers and sisters along with ourselves to see if we have set aside the commands of God to set up our own traditions. To do this, we use Scripture to explain Scripture. Please join us on this journey. All right, so we are in 2 Samuel chapter 14. And 2 Samuel chapter 13 was crazy. There's a lot of comments on it. It was just wild. And that's we found out that David's son, one of his sons, he raped his sister. So a brother raped a daughter. And then the other brother who found out about it, he plotted to have him killed. He waited like 2 years for this to take place, and he ended up killing him. And then he was banished. And so he's banished. And towards the end of that chapter 13, even though he's banished and for what he did, David still wanted to see him. And so that's what opens up to 2 Samuel chapter 14. Let's jump into it, Mary Berry. So 2 Samuel chapter 14, verses 1 through 3 says, Joab, son of Zeruiah, observed that the king's mind was on Absalom. So Joab sent someone to Tekoa to bring a clever woman from there. He told her, pretend to be in mourning, dressed in mourning clothes, and don't put on any oil. Act like a woman who has been mourning for the dead for a long time. Go to the king and speak these words to him. Then Joab told her exactly what to say. So we have here Joab. Again, Joab has been brought up here. Joab is David's nephew. And so Joab sees that David is he's sad about this. He's sad that Absalom is banished. So he goes to he's grieving for Absalom. And so Joab actually devised this plan to like subtly convince David to reconsider Absalom's exile. And he's going to kind of go about it in a way to make it seem like it's David's ideal. So it's not Joab going to him and say, hey, this is what you should do. He goes and finds this woman from Tekoa. From everything that I understand about this Tekoa situation is that it's a little bit further from Jerusalem. It's not necessarily known for, wise people to be in Tekoa. And so, but this particular woman, it says specifically of her that she's clever, she's wise. And so he gets, she's clever, brings her and puts her on to what she needs to say, and she's game to do it. Questions or comments on this so far? What you got, G. White?
What does the name Joab mean?
Me. Let's see. It means Yahweh is Father, or praise Jehovah.
That is not who he is.
Yeah, we're about to find out. There's a lot of people that have names specifically glorifying God. Yeah, there's a lot of people that like that in the Bible, actually. They have a name, the Indian boy. So, but Joab is a guy you like, though. That's a guy that he's a warrior just like
Joab. I don't like this. Joab is the deceiver. He's always tricking. I like the cousin out there doing the killing.
That's Joab.
Oh, I like Joab. Never mind.
Yeah. Yeah, that's Joab. So Joab comes with this plan to do this. And so that's where we're at. So he goes and gets this one from Tekoa, tells her what she's supposed to do. Anybody else got anything on this? All right, let's move to the next one, Mary Berry. I'll start with you.
Now, if Joab said it, I'm sure he has a good reason for it.
Everything that he's doing here, it looks like, it doesn't look bad. You know what I mean? Like he literally sees that David is upset about not seeing his son Absalom.
I think Joab wants the kingdom.
You think that's what it is?
He seemed like he wanted, and he should have it because he did all the fight. I mean, I don't know if he's, but he could actually fit in.
Well, we're about to find out what happens with Joab. It's gonna take a while, but we'll get to it. All right, Mary Berry, let's go to the next one. 2 Samuel chapter 14, verses 4-7 says, when the woman from Tekoa came to the king, she fell with her face to the ground in homage and said, "Help me, my king." "What's the matter?" the king asked her. "To tell the truth, I'm a widow. My husband died," she said. "Your servant had 2 sons. They were fighting in the field with no one to separate them, and one struck the other and killed him. Now the whole clan has risen up against your servant and said, 'Hand over the one who killed his brother so we may put him to death for the life of the brother he murdered. We will destroy the heir. They would extinguish my remaining amber by not preserving my husband's name or posterity on earth.'" So this woman goes and she greets the king, and then she's describing, she's in this distress because she's describing this family feud, basically, right? These 2 brothers, 2 sons are arguing with one another. Excuse me. And then one strikes another one. So one kills the other. And she specifically says she's putting these details in here to trigger David, not trigger David, but she's meticulously putting these details in here, and we'll see how she's manipulating this to bring David to a certain conclusion. So that's part of the detail, is that it's 2 brothers. No one was there to separate them, so no one witnessed it. What you got, Deja? Deja, you muted.
Sorry, that was an accident. Well, it wasn't, but I didn't change my mind, so sorry.
Okay, no problem. So no one witnessed it. No one was there to break it up. And then she goes on to explain the threat to her remaining son, right? And we'll take a look at to that because remember, it says that the clan, like the family at large, rose up against her and said, "You need to hand over the one brother so we can put him to death for the sake of the one that was murdered." Now, what's happening is it's the Avenger of Blood, and this is supposed to happen, but not because of a specific little detail she's leaving there. We'll take a look at this, what it is about the Avenger of Blood a little bit. Let's go to the next one, Mary Berry. So in Numbers chapter 35, verses 18-21, it says, "If a man has in his hand a wooden object capable of causing death and strikes another person and he dies, the murderer must be put to death. The Avenger of Blood himself is to kill the murderer. When he finds him, he is to kill him. Likewise, if anyone in hatred pushes a person or throws an object at him with malicious intent and he dies, or if in hostility he strikes him with his hand and he dies, the one who struck him must be put to death. He is a murderer. The Avenger of Blood is to kill the murderer when he finds him." So that's what this clan, that's what she's saying, this clan is enacting, this Avenger of Blood, which is a duty. It's literally, if you catch him with the saying in here, this is what's supposed to happen. That if it happens in malice, then the Avenger of Blood, it's this duty to actually to carry this out. What you got, G White?
This is exactly the law that Joab lives by.
You're right. But the thing about the law, pretty intricate. What you got, Deja?
I was gonna say, if I'm not wrong, is this the place in scripture where it talks about the cities of refuge in the event that happened on accident? Like if somebody did have a tool that could kill someone, or they do strike someone and it's accidental, it's not in hatred, then they could flee to those cities and they would be safe. And I think they had to stay there for like a number of years, right? And they would be safe from the Avenger of Blood.
That's right. Cities of refuge. There was, I want to say, 3 of them. And that's exactly what can happen, is that they can run to this city of refuge. They can be judged there. And if they're found innocent, they have to stay within that city until the high priest dies. If they leave that city, then the Avenger of Blood can kill them. But he's under the protection of the city. Once the high priest dies, then he's actually free to go. He can leave and return back to his house at that point. That is true. Great comment. So there is, the Avenger of the person that causes the death, especially if it's an accident, can flee to one of these cities to save his own life. So she's saying this, and she said that there was no one there to witness it. So because there was no one to witness it, there cannot be an Avenger of Blood at this point, because no one actually saw it happen. This is hearsay at this point. And so that I don't have here in front of me, but that's actually part of this law, is that someone has to witness it take place. So again, she's drawing David in by these certain details, and David definitely is not dumb. He's picking up on all of them to make a certain judgment. So not only is this issue that she had, the issue she has, I guess the main issue is that by them taking out the other son, her husband who has died, his lineage stops right then and there. It would be cut off at that point because there would be no more sons for him to pass on their lineage. So she would lose the land, and the land would be lost in that father's name, and it'd be gone. And so she's making this case that the avenger of blood, yes, has a right to come after him, but this is what will happen because of it. Any questions or comments on this so far? All right, let's go back to 2 Samuel chapter 14, verses 8 through 11. And it says, the king told the woman, go home, I will issue a command on your behalf. Then the woman of Tekoa said to the king, my lord the king, may any blame be on me in my father's house, and may the king and his throne be innocent. Whoever speaks to you, the king said, bring him to me. He will not trouble you again. She replied, please, may the king invoke the Lord your God, so that the avenger of blood will not increase the loss, and they will not eliminate my son. As the Lord lives, he vowed, not a hair of your son will fall to the ground. So she is starting off. The king's response is basically telling her, hey, go home. I'm going to issue, I'll give orders concerning you. Like, I'm not making the decision now. Right. So he dismisses her, but he's going to take some type of action, but he's dismissing her at this point. He's not dealing with it right now at this moment. And so she basically says, let the guilt be on me and my family, and you be guiltless. In other words, make the decision now, and I'll take responsibility if it goes sideways. If it gets bad, then I'll take the blame for it. And so she does this, and then David goes on to say, he goes on from saying he'll make a decision about the case later. Now he's becoming invested in it, and he gives her a personal guarantee of protection. He says, if anybody speaks to you about this, bring them to me, and I'll make sure, like, he'll never mess with you again. So he is giving her personal guarantee or protection. And then she takes him even further, invoke the Lord in this. So bring God, make a vow before God, the ultimate guarantee. This is supremely clever. And he does it. As the Lord lives, not a hair of your son will fall to the ground, right? So she's using these clever pleas to appeal to David's sense of justice and his royal authority and his religious obligations. So she got him to gradually go from a vague promise to a personal guarantee, and then ultimately to a solemn oath. This woman is very clever. She's literally guiding him into this. Any questions or comments so far? What you got, G White?
Now, what exactly did Joab want her to tell him?
A lot of this is exactly what Joab wanted. Joab told her what she should say, and she constructed the what's the word I'm looking for? She basically worked it out to where it's like this, because it's given to her as cleverness, but Joab actually came up with the whole plan.
So Joab knew what she wanted the entire time?
Yeah, this is Joab's idea.
He said, if you want this, then you gotta finesse him like this.
Yeah, so this never happened. She didn't lose a son. None of this happened. She's making this up. Yeah, she's making this up. She's pretending all this stuff.
That's not good.
Yeah, none of this really happened. What you got, Deja?
So I was thinking that it was like a guarantee for her to be guiltless, but I'm reading it also alongside in the NIV. So basically, he went from saying, I'll tell you tomorrow, to telling her right now, basically, don't worry about it. I'll make sure that your son is free, even though, of course, this is not the truth. But he went from not having a decision to making the decision that she basically wanted him to make, is what essentially just happened.
Yep. And not even just making a decision. He swore before the Lord. Like, she made him like he can't turn back if he wanted to at this point. So she got the ultimate judgment. If that makes sense. Yeah, that's what happened. He got worked on this one. All right. So, what you got, Deja?
I'm sorry. I think it's in Ecclesiastes where it talks about not being able to find one woman, or I think it says like who is noble like one man, but a noble woman like I don't know. I can't find things in Ecclesiastes, but I can't remember how the scripture's worded. I kind of want to say I feel like maybe David I'm just gonna say maybe had a weakness for women or something, because why did Joab have to go find a lady to do this? And why was it so successful? Like this was like very successful, quickly successful, at least like the way that we're reading it. Why couldn't he just been like, said something clever or send like a dude in, or so, like he went all the way to this town to find, I don't want to say like a scammer, but like what I'm guessing is the equivalent of like somebody that works with people. That's just crazy to me.
I never thought about that, but you may actually have a point. He did use a woman specifically to do this. What you got, G White?
So I never said this, but I was thinking it the whole time. Do we know what this woman looked like? That seemed like it. She had to be a beautiful woman.
I don't know that it's necessary that she's a beautiful woman. I think the fact of her being from Tekoa has something to do with it. Just because they're, from what I read, like they were just basically simple people. They weren't about the city life, and so I guess it would be less likely for him to have his suspicions up that he's been gained at this point.
Maybe Tekoa just sound like they got beautiful women out there. So she's still beautiful to me.
Okay. So yeah, some good points there. Some good points that he did it, and it may just had to be a lady just because of the way the story happened. Because if it was a man, it wouldn't make no difference. Like just have more kids, then your lineage will continue. But with it being a woman, it's different because it's under the man. What you got, G White?
Well, I'm still stuck on here. What was the point of this lie? I don't know. What are we trying to accomplish here?
Oh, we're about to find out right now. Let's go to the next one, Mary Berry. 2 Samuel chapter 14, verses 12 through 17 says, Then the woman said, Please, may your servant speak a word to my lord the king. Speak, he replied. The woman asked, Why have you devised something similar against the people of God? When the king spoke as he did about this matter, he has pronounced his own guilt. The king has not brought back his own banished one. We will certainly die and be like water poured out on the ground, which can't be recovered. But God will not take away a life. He will devise plans so that the one banished from him does not remain banished. Now, therefore, I've come to present this matter to my lord the king, because the people have made me afraid. Your servant thought, I must speak to the king. Perhaps the king will grant his servant's request. The king will surely listen in order to rescue his servant from the hand of this man who would eliminate both me and my son from God's inheritance. Your servant thought, may the word of my lord the king bring relief, for my lord the king is able to discern the good and the bad, like the angel of God. May the Lord your God be with you. So now she takes it up a notch and she accuses David of hypocrisy. Like the very thing that you said that shouldn't be done, you're doing to your own son. He's being banished. He's not allowed. It says, not only you do it to your son, you're doing it against us as the people of Israel. You're banishing people like this from their own inheritance. And so she says this, that God devises a way to restore a banished person. So to give an example, if people would do certain things, or if they would have certain sicknesses, they would have to sit outside the camp for so many days, but they get to come back in, right? Or stay within the city of refuge, like Deja was bringing up, until the high priest dies, and then he can come back. So even though that person is banished, God does devise ways to where they can come back. And so she invokes that, and she's basically saying, you said it yourself, you're guilty. And so that's where we're at this point. So she basically lays it all out and then lets him know that he's guilty because he wouldn't do the same for his own son. Any questions or comments on this? All right, let's go to the next part, Mary Berry. So 2 Samuel chapter 14, verses 18 through 24 says, Then the king answered the woman, I'm going to ask you something. Don't conceal it from me. Let my lord the king speak, the woman replied. The king asked, Did Joab put you up to all this? The woman answered, As you live, my lord the king, no one can turn to the right or left from all my lord the king says. Yes, your servant Joab is the one who gave orders to me. He told your servant exactly what to say. Joab, your servant, has done this to address the issue indirectly. But my lord has wisdom like the wisdom of the angels of God, knowing everything on earth. Then the king said to Joab, I hereby grant this request. Go, bring back the young man Absalom. Joab fell with his face to the ground in homage and praised the king. Today, Joab said, your servant knows I have found favor with you, my lord the king, because the king has granted the request of your servant. So Joab got up, went to Geshur, and brought Absalom to Jerusalem. However, the king added, he may return to his house, but he may not see my face. So Absalom returned to his house, but he did not see the king. What you got, Deja?
This is just funny to me because sometimes when we're reading, or maybe it's just me, it's hard to put the whole scene. It's not a movie, right? So it's hard to put the whole scene into context. But basically, everything was happening. Joab was sitting right there in the room. That is so crazy to just be sitting, knowing you defied something. And then I can only imagine when David said, hey, so did Joab put you up? He's just sitting there. And it doesn't say that he responds until David responds to her saying, yes, he put me up to this. Like, it's just so funny. Like, just on the edge of his seat, just doing extra stuff.
The funny thing is, so yeah, David, he realized that he's been manipulated. And this clever woman, really clever, he asked her, is Joab's hand in this? And she said, Joab told me exactly what to say. And it just, she put the blame all on Joab. Like, he told me exactly what to say. And so, but David, he gives in his request, and then he asks, Absalom, he can't visit me. And so it worked out. Joab's plan worked out. At least the underlying issue still remains, though. David wanted to see Absalom. Joab said, so Joab, like I say, his plan kind of worked out, but not quite, because David, the true thing that David wanted was to truly see Absalom. And for whatever reason, he's still trying to hold back, because he put that last little part in there. He cannot see my face. And so, and that's not what he wants. It is obviously not what he wants, but I guess he got to kind of save face because of what happened to his other son. That's what I'm thinking. I could be wrong on that. Any questions or comments on this so far? Oh, what you got? You up?
Yeah, I heard how you finished that about what happened, why he doesn't want to see his son, and you hope that you're right. And I hope that you're not right, because he let his daughter go. So
there you go, twisting my words again. I didn't say I didn't say that. You twisted my words again.
I hope that he does that. That's not the reason, because he let that daughter just be out there like that, and he didn't do anything about it.
Oh yeah, and this is Absalom, the brother of that daughter, and so no, he needs to see Absalom. I mean, Absalom.
Yeah, he should.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. Like I said, that's what I feel it is. I'm not hoping for anything. You twist my words again.
Right. My apologies if I twisted my understanding. How you communicated it to me. That's what I understood.
Okay, well, I need you to get your understanding up, man.
Okay.
Before we have a disagreement. All right. So yeah, anybody else got anything on this? All right. So let's move to the next part, Mary Berry. This gets weird. So 2 Samuel chapter 14, verses 25 through 27 says, no man in all Israel was as handsome and highly praised as Absalom. From the sole of his foot to the top of his head, he did not have a single flaw. When he shaved his head, he shaved it every year because his hair got so heavy for him that he had to shave it off. He would weigh the hair from his head, and it would be 5 pounds according to the royal standard. 3 sons were born to Absalom. and a daughter named Tamar, who was a beautiful woman. So we have here, we find out that Absalom was exceptionally handsome. And that's going to become important here in the next chapters. So he's exceptionally handsome. What you got, Deja?
Bro, I just feel like the Bible is hilarious because why does it say he's handsome, goes on about how long his hair is, and then so he had 3 sons. Like you can just figure it out. Like I just think the Bible is funny sometimes. I don't know.
It's setting everything up. It really is for what we're about to get into in a second. And then his hair would just grow like crazy. It said it would say his hair grew so much they weighed 5 pounds. He would shave it off every year, and it'd be like 5 pounds. I can't remember how many shekels the literal translation is, but according to the royal standard, so 5 pounds of hair he would grow every single year, and then he would shave it off, and he was flawless. He had no flaw whatsoever. But then it goes on to say he has 3 sons and he has a daughter named Tamar. So apparently this is how close he is to his sister. He ends up naming his daughter the exact same name of Tamar. Any questions or comments on this? All right, let's go to the next. Let's wrap it up, Mary Berry. So 2 Samuel chapter 14, verses 28 through 33 says, Absalom resided in Jerusalem 2 years, but never saw the king. Then Absalom sent for Joab in order to send him to the king, but Joab was unwilling to come. So he sent again a second time, but he still wouldn't come. Then Absalom said to his servants, see, Joab has a field right next to mine, and he has barley there. Go and set fire to it. So Absalom's servants set the field on fire. Then Joab came to Absalom's house and demanded, why did your servant set my field on fire? Look, Absalom explained to Joab, I sent for you and said, come here, I want to send you to the king to ask, why have I come back from Geshur? I'd be better off if I were still there. So now, let me see the king. If I'm guilty, let him kill me. Joab went to the king and told him. So David summoned Absalom, who came to the king and bowed down with his face to the ground before him. Then the king kissed Absalom. What you got, Daisha?
So you were saying before that you had felt like maybe the reason that he said that his son couldn't see him was to save face. And I feel like it was that in multiple things because I'm wondering if he maybe felt he had an obligation to, I don't know, to rectify, because it doesn't seem like what Absalom did was private. Like I know the woman's example was that they were in a field and no one saw, but that wasn't the case for Absalom. So I don't know if he felt like if I don't see him, I can kind of act like he's not here and I don't have to make a judgment, if any. Because I don't know if that's maybe what his son thought, because then he says, now I want to see him. And if I'm guilty, so it makes me think that maybe that's what his son thought. Like, I don't know if my dad just don't want to see me, or if he's trying to avoid having to actually make a decision. I don't know if it needs to be made. I hope that was making sense. And then also when he says, I just also want to notate something. I feel like this is something G would say, but setting his field on fire, that's definitely giving king's kid behavior, because that to me is such a spoiled response. If you don't want to talk to you, he don't want to talk to you. Like you can't go set that. It reminds me of David when he was going to I forget her husband's name, but the angry fool that she was married to, Nabal, I think. Like y'all, you can't just do whatever you want. Like I just don't know what's not clicking.
Yeah, he's gonna kill everybody because he said he wouldn't click him enough. He wasn't going to provide provisions. You make a good point. That it could be that there was a judgment that had to happen, or and you may be very right with that, because it says then the king kissed Absalom, so there's almost like a forgiveness, like I forgive you of this. So I think you may actually be right on that. What you got, G White?
I'm trying to see why Joab was so interested in Absalom, and then he didn't even deal with him. He didn't even talk to him. My second
What has to
question,
do with this?
but the fact is, he set it all up. Why did he even care?
But he did it for the sake of the king. He saw his uncle was sad about it, and so he was trying to rectify that situation.
Oh, yeah, okay. I got him here, and y'all deal with it.
Yeah.
What makes Absalom so tough to light Joab's field on fire? Like, that ain't the guy to mess with at all.
It may be just as they just said. Like he's David's king. I mean, David's kid. He acting like it.
My daddy won't let you touch me. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Like I say, we get to see a little bit of the character of Absalom, a little bit in that. And it's like I say, the next chapter is gonna get crazy. Yeah, and so there's a lot of things that was brought up here. So Absalom, he's frustrated. He gets back to Jerusalem and he's restricted. Prior, he's with his grandfather, and he probably had free roam to go within that city. What you got, G White?
I'm just trying to put these characters in ages. I don't know how old David is at this time. Do we have a clue or a guess?
I don't know. If I was a guess, I would say probably late 40s.
Oh, he still can fight. So Joab is probably in his 30s then.
Yeah, Joab's probably around his 30s, and he could like to. Yeah.
So Absalom is 20. Joab should have went on there and whooped him. He set his field on fire.
No, that would have been probably the wrong thing to do.
He can't put a hand on him, like beat him up.
That's the king. That's the king's son. And you know, sometimes the king is irrational. Just like David said, he went and wanted to murder whole people because they would give him some cakes, because they would give him some raisins.
Let me ask you a question though. Was Joab there when he said that? Be there. How many championships did Jordan win without Pippen?
Anyways, man. So Absalom's frustrated. He got this restricted return. He can't come back into the, he's back in the city, but effectively he's banished from the palace, from the royal presence. And so he calls out to Joab twice, and Joab just don't want to get involved. Like, he didn't want nothing else to do at this point, it looks like. And he sets his fire to it to get his attention. Absalom is brought before David, and it looks like they reconcile. That's what we're left with in 2 Samuel chapter 14, that they've reconciled at this point, which is really honestly what David wanted. It would seem, based on the prior chapter.
The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace.